Alright, so it's a couple of hours later, and this is what we've kind of come up with. And so I have blown away my side skirt right there. Got all my pieces and whatever other pieces up there. I tend to save pieces just in case I need to reconstruct or get an idea of how to cut on the other side, stuff like that. But basically, I have cut up the side skirt in order to follow the body lines of the idea. So that way it's a little bit more, as I mentioned to you, more fluid. So this kind of explains that. And so I flared out the right side, so that way it'll be easier for the mold too. And then butting this up, because remember there is this overhang right here. All of this came out just because of that overhang. So now what I did was follow that line into this part. And so I think you can kind of get the gist of it. I cut styrofoam, put my creases in it the way I need it to be, use tape to hold it together, and then I'll come back and I'll lay this out flat and I'll cut the actual piece out of one piece of styrofoam and then bend it accordingly in the areas that I need. And then I'll put fiberglass over it. Or, like I said, I can use the roofing material because it'll be rigid enough to hold this design, and then it'll put the curvature in it, put the heat gun in it to make sure that that curve will stay there, and then put resin over that. The other cool thing is that it's black, so I can kind of get an idea of what it would look like in carbon, and it's uniform in color, stuff like that. The only problem with using that material opposed to this, the styrofoam, is that when you want your edges to be really, really flat and less curvature, you could use this and just put a little bit of curve in it, if that kind of makes sense. This is a little bit more rigid than the other. However, if you wanted like fluidity of a curve in whatever you're trying to do, the other material helps out with that, because you don't have to like carve that or sand that into it. It's like already there because of the material itself that will hold a consistent form or shape. So it's just the idea of understanding how your materials react to your idea, and using the right ones, using the right tool. But anyway, it caused me to blow it out that much. So now the side skirt will feed into the rear fender like that, and I'll figure out method of attachment later. The other added benefit of doing this piece too like this is that there's a lip inside there. So now when I make a mold for this part, it'll cut off here, and then this particular piece will now have the rest of it that goes inside here. That will be completely flat. It's easy to sand, and it just tucks in the end. So then I'll have that curvature. I don't have to worry about making a second mold for this area and all that old craziness. The other thing is the side skirt comes here, like I mentioned before. It drops down, and then I'll probably have a mounting point, just like I have a screw here, that goes in there to keep that together. But I'll put the studs on the other side, so that way it goes right into this piece, which is the actual side skirt, and then put screws on the other side to to tighten up that stud that I have going directly into the side skirt. So that way it's seamless. Nobody knows how it's put together. And then it's still two different pieces, so if you damage the side skirt, it still can come apart. I think about shit like that. It just snowballs out of my head. And so method of attachment, flow, all that stuff is what you get covered. I spent 4 hours in this. Wow, got me another hairline crack right there. But I put 4 hours into this so far, and trying to figure out, well, okay, how does it flow? How does it attach? What materials am I going to use? And I haven't even touched resin yet. So that's kind of a design process. I'm just trying to highlight of what I go through. Some others might be able to figure out some stuff faster. I'm not exactly rushed for time, but I do not want to spend a whole lot of time on this, or I didn't. But basically, that's a quarter of a day. That's a lot. It's a lot of energy, and I still gotta fabricate the template for the other side of the car and cut it out, set it up, make sure both sides are even. So this is really a day process just because of some 1/4 inch overhang of the fender, as I was trying to true everything up to do molds. And now I'm back. The end result, it'll flow really good. I don't have my different perspectives to play with, but I think it'll look good. I think it'll look good. You got to stay away from that whole 90s look. Ain't gonna have no gills or anything like that in here. A lot of cars that have open air inducts like that. It's like, the 720 McLaren. Actually, McLaren went nuts with that. They kind of have it on all their cars. The Celine S7 was probably the most hideous with air induction. But the thing is I think it'll flow really good. It doesn't take away from the top. It's a really aggressive side skirt. There's no other side skirt out there like that. I gotta be careful about how much area too is trapping air to put pressure on stuff, so that way you don't have to worry about the part itself taking on stress and cracking. But I think the air being split up right here is not going to be so much of a down pressure than it would be for just moving it. It does have a slight rake. It does go up a little bit, but I don't think it's so much that it creates so much pressure that something's going to break. That air is not being trapped. It's either going inside the car or it's going away from the car. So I think I should be pretty good here. Anyway, that's the process. I'm going to try to document this and get you all the way up to the end result.